This is Lesson 3 Part 2. We are going to learn about present simple tense form with the honorific suffix yo in this lesson. Let's start. Please remember we are talking about the present simple tense form with the honorific suffix yo only. There are basically only two rules, but I've added one more rule to help you understand this better. So you can think there are three rules. As I said in the part 1, tenses are expressed by adding an ending to a stem in Korean. Stem plus ending. Stem of a verb or stem of an adjective. Rule number 1. When the last letter of the stem has a or o vowel, you always add the ending ayo with a sound. Yes, ayo is one of the endings. I said the last letter of the stem, not the first letter, not the letter in the middle, the very last letter of the stem. And the last letter of the stem is not ta sound. And it's not that hard to remember because the ending ayo already has a vowel. And a vowel and o vowel both are considered to be yang vowels. If you don't know what it means, you can go back to lesson 1 to check it out. No worries, we'll see some examples together in this lesson. Rule number 2. When the last letter of the stem has other vowels than a or o vowel, you always add oyo with o sound. There are some exceptions as far as I know, but you don't need to know them at this point at all, believe me. Rule number 3. This is the special rule that I made for you. When the last letter of the stem is ha sound, you turn the ha sound into he sound and add the honorific suffix yo. So it's basically heyo. No matter whether it's a verb or an adjective. Based on the rule number 1, you are supposed to add the ending ayo to the stem ha because it has a vowel. But this rule number 1 doesn't apply to the stem ends in the ha sound in the modern Korean language anymore. So it's always heyo in the present simple tense with honorific suffix yo. Now let's see some examples together. The base form of the verb to go in Korean is 가다. What is the stem? Yes, the stem is ka. What is the last letter of the stem? Don't show me the big question mark on your face. There is only one letter in the stem, ka. So ka is the last and the first letter of the stem, and it has a vowel. Thus, you add ayo. So it's supposed to be ka ayo. However, you need to learn one more extremely important rule here. When there is no final consonant in the last letter of the stem, if you don't know what final consonant means, you need to go back to lesson 1 or 2. Anyway, when there is no final consonant in the last letter of the stem, you always, I said always, you should always combine the last letter of the stem with the a sound or a sound if you use oyo. Because the stem ka sound and the next a sound of ayo has the same a vowel, if you combine ka and a sound together, they can be completely merged and becomes one letter ka sound. So it is not ka ayo, but it's kayo. Do you get it? As always, there are some exceptions, but you don't need to know them. As I always say, you can basically think it happens all the time. Not all the time, but I'll explain. Let's see the next example, which works the same. The base form of the verb to sleep in Korean is 자다. The stem is 자. It has a vowel. So you need to add the ending ayo. But because of the fact that cha sound doesn't have any final consonant, you need to combine the cha sound with a sound. And it just makes cha sound together. So it's not cha ayo, but it's chayo. Chayo. Next example. 오다. 오다, which is the base form of the verb to come. The stem is 오. Because it has the yang vowel 오, you need to add the ending ayo. Because the stem 오 sound doesn't have any final consonant, you need to combine it with a sound of ayo. Because a sound of the ending ayo has round empty iung consonant, which doesn't have any sound in it, you can basically think that you add a vowel to the stem o, and it makes wa sound. Wa, wa. You know you can make a compound vowel wa in Korean, right? Yeah, just like a block puzzle game or Tetris. The o vowel and the a vowel make wa vowel together. And this compound vowel actually exists. So nothing is wrong with that. You can combine o sound and a vowel with no problem. Make sense? Great. Please don't forget, we are only talking about the present simple tense form with the honorific suffix yo. Why do I keep saying this? Because some people forget the tense thing all the time since they don't have tense elements in their mother tongue, like Mandarin or Thai. So I'm sorry, don't forget, we are only talking about the present simple tense form. Korean present simple tense is a little bit different from that of English. I'll tell you why shortly. Next, the base form of the verb to meet in Korean is 만나다. 만나다. What is the stem? Please don't say na, and don't even try to say man. The stem is 만나. 만나. 2-letter stem this time. And the last letter of the stem is na. This na sound has a vowel. Thus, you need to add the ending ayo. But there's no final consonant in the last letter of the stem, na. So you need to combine the na sound and a sound together. And it just makes one letter, na sound. So it's 만나요, 만나요, not 만나아요. Got it? Okay. By now, you might think all stems that have the yang vowel a in the last letter don't have a final consonant in Korean. That's actually true, partially. Let's try this with the verb the last letter of which actually has the final consonant. 닫다, 닫다. 닫다 means shut or close. When you say shut the door or shut your mouth. The stem is 닫. This stem has the a vowel. So you need to add the ending ayo. The stem 닫 plus the ending ayo. 닫아요. This time, the stem or the last letter of the stem has the final consonant. So you cannot combine 닫 with a sound. Sounds clear? Good. 닫아요 is actually pronounced 닫아요. 닫아요 rather than 닫아요. Let's talk about this pronunciation rule later again. In fact, I'd rather call it sound changing rules than pronunciation rules. Whatever, you need to learn some of them later. Now let's see some verbs that go with the ending 어요. The base form of the verb to eat in Korean is 먹다. 먹다. The stem is 먹. This stem has a vowel, which is neither a vowel nor o vowel. It's a vowel. So needless to say, you need to add the ending 어요. So it's 먹어요. The last letter of the stem has a final consonant. So you cannot combine 먹 sound with sound of the ending 어요. 먹어요 is actually pronounced 먹어요. 먹어요. Let's learn about the sound changing rule, not in this lesson, but very soon. Next one. The base form of the verb to cry in Korean is 울다. 울다. The stem is 울. Because it has u vowel, you add the ending 어요. And the last letter of the stem, 울, has a final consonant l, lir. So you cannot combine the stem 울 and the sound of the ending 어요. The next verb is 뛰다. 뛰다. 뛰다, which means to run or to jump. What is the stem? 뛰 is the stem, right? The last letter of the stem doesn't have a vowel or o vowel, so you definitely need to add the ending 어요. 뛰 plus 어요. Now this is the important part. Because of the fact that there is no final consonant in the last letter of the stem, you might want to combine the last letter of the stem 뛰 with the sound of the ending 어요. But when you combine these two letters, you always need to see there is an actual compound vowel which sounds like the combination of two vowels in Korean. The stem 뛰 has the 위 vowel, which is already a compound vowel, and the sound of the ending 어요 has a vowel. There is no compound vowel in Korean which looks like the combination of 위 and so you cannot combine them. This is a rule you need to remember. It's not like you don't need to combine them, you cannot combine them. You can combine two vowels only if the combination of two vowels can form one of the legitimate compound vowels. Sounds good? Great. Next, 고치다. 고치다, which means to fix or to repair. What is the stem? It's two-letter stem, right? 고치 is the stem. What is the last letter of the stem? 치. 치 is the last letter of the stem, and it has e vowel. So you need to add the ending 어요. We are still talking about the present simple tense form with the honorific suffix 요, okay? 고치 plus 어요. The last letter of the stem doesn't have a final consonant. Thus, you should combine it with the sound of the ending 어요, right? I'm not sure if I mentioned about this in lesson 1 or lesson 2, but when this e vowel is merged with other basic vowels like a, o, u, it adds one short stroke to the basic vowel. For example, when e vowel is merged with a vowel, it becomes ya sound. Why? Just phonetically, naturally becomes like that. You can try to pronounce e vowel and a vowel consecutively, but super fast. Like yo. See? It becomes yo. So when e vowel is merged with a vowel, it becomes ya vowel. E vowel plus o vowel becomes 요. E vowel plus u vowel becomes 유. Easy peasy. So 고치어요 becomes 고쳐요. 고쳐요, because 치 and sound should be combined. 고치어요 becomes 고쳐요. 고쳐요. Okay? Now let's see some examples with 하다. in their base form. As you've seen, the base form of the verb to do in Korean is 하다. And 하다, of course, means to perform or take an action. The stem is ha. Strangely, this stem ha just turns into he sound, and you add the honorific suffix yo after. So it's basically 해요. The base form 하다 just turns into 해요 in the present simple tense. That's it. This one is something you should just remember. Forget about the process. The next verb is 수영하다. 수영하다, which means to swim. The stem of this verb is 수영하, but you can just think that the entire 하다 turns into 해요, so it becomes 수영해요. Usually the verb with 하다 is comprised of one noun and 하다. So 수영 is a noun which means a swim or swimming. Okay? Next, 사랑하다. 사랑하다, which means to love. Of course, 사랑하 is the stem, but you can think the entire 하다 turns into 해요. So it's 사랑해요. 사랑해요. 사랑 is also a noun, which means love. You might wonder why I keep talking about the stem while it's not actually used here, because it is still super important to know the concept of a stem. It's going to be used when you conjugate this verb with other endings. Okay? Next, 운전하다. 운전하다, which means to drive. To drive any form of transportation. The stem is 운전하, but the entire 하다 part turns into 해요. So it becomes 운전해요. 운전해요. 운전 is a noun as well. I call these verbs a noun plus 하다 verbs. Okay? Next, 좋아하다. 좋아하다. The final h consonant, 히읗 consonant in the first letter, 조, is silent. 좋아하다 turns into 좋아해요 in the present simple tense. A piece of cake, isn't it? But this time, 좋아 part is not a noun. The entire 하다 part is an ending. But you don't need to know about it now. You will learn about it in lesson 8 or something. I don't remember exactly. Anyway, it's 좋아해요. That's it for today. Let's learn about the difference between Korean present simple tense and that of English. The present continuous tense, 2 sound changing rules, and let's briefly talk about the order of the words in Korean. See you next time then.